Is just Connor tonight in Friends Stream Sports. We've had a long holiday season, potentially filled with friends, seeing friends, or at least seeing friends virtually. I know this has been a different holiday season for most, and I am excited to get to share some holiday love this evening with everybody out there in Twitch land. So Rutledge, our usual co-host, is working this evening, and we will continue the show. The show will go on as we are always in on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock here Eastern Time. And tonight what I wanted to do is get to deliver to our viewers, to our fans out there, a year in review, the ability to review some of the things from this year while watching me play England as the United States men's national team in a classic home and away match. I want to thank all of our viewers out there who have been with us since the beginning. We're excited. Rutledge and I, we have a lot of fun content coming next year. I can't wait to continue that. We're going to do a big March Madness event. We're really excited about that, along with some other things. We're going to dabble in some fantasy NASCAR. So can't wait for all of that to go on. And we are really excited for that. Before we get into the year in review, I want to review some previous picks based off of our Pick'em. And before I do that, for those who might be listening to us via podcast, I'm just going to double check our settings here, because you might not be able to hear me over the sound of all of the great commentary, all of the great commentary that you might hear. And I think that we're going to be good this evening here, settings-wise, which we're really excited about. So, as we kick off here, United States men's national team versus England men's national team. Really excited for just to get to share with everyone this evening. The first thing that we're going to do is talk about our bowl pick'em. For those who missed it, we invited some of our viewers to compete against myself and Rutledge on a bowl pick'em. And there's four of us in. There's myself, there's friends of the show, Stephen Kicklighter, and Luke. Luke, I'm sorry I forgot your last name, but that's okay. You're still a friend of the show. And I'm sure if we got to hang out, we would be friends as well. So, and England, unfortunately, just opened up the scoring. But we did a college football bowl pick'em. There's Miami versus Oklahoma State this evening. And we are really excited to get this going on. The winner gets to be a guest star on our show for one evening. And as it stands right now, yours truly is winning the bowl pick'em so far. There's been 10 bowl games played. There's one currently going, and that's the Miami-Oklahoma State game being played right here in Orlando. I am leading the way with 6 points, a 6-4 record out of the first 10 bowl games played. Stephen and Luke are tied for second place with 4 wins out of 10 bowl games. And our dear friend Rutledge has currently sitting at a 3-7 record. And we maybe Rutledge's luck will turn around, although if memory serves me right, he did pick the Canes tonight, and the Miami Hurricanes are down currently to Oklahoma State. With all the cards on the table, I too am down to the Canes, or I too am down as I did pick the Canes. And we have a little bit of a fast break here. Christian Pulisic here with the ball. And so that is our current bowl pick'em. We do have a few interesting games coming up, a few interesting big games where we didn't pick the same teams. We were pretty much on the same page in terms of the playoffs. All of us are picking an Alabama-Clemson final with an Alabama champion. But the first game that is a little bit different is the Valero Alamo Bowl, Texas versus Colorado, where we've had 2 folks pick Texas and we have 2 folks picking Colorado. Myself and Steven have the Longhorns, and Rutledge and Luke have Colorado. So that is one that could definitely turn the tides. Next up, we have the Liberty Bowl with West Virginia versus Army. Rutledge and or myself and Luke have West Virginia, while Rutledge and Steven have Army. So very excited about seeing all that play out for sure this when that bowl game happens. And then the Peach Bowl, which I do want to just give a shout out to Luke. Luke did a bold pick here and went against that SEC vibe here as Georgia's playing Cincinnati. Luke going for the Cincinnati upset, although if you have listened to this show much, we do not and have not given much love to the Georgia Bulldogs. So pretty surprising that even with the lack of Georgia Bulldog love, there's still a 3-1 at least pick 'em for the Georgia Bulldogs. So maybe the fighting Luke Fickles and the group of 5 best team, highest ranked team, Cincinnati Bearcats, will prove us wrong, but also maybe not. So that's just our quick update on our College Bowl pick'em. Now want to get to some of the picks that we did right this year. What we're doing in terms of our number one first ever year in review is we're gonna talk about the things that we picked right and the things that we did well. Josie Altidore, the ageless wonder apparently according to FIFA, making it big time here. Shot gets blocked by the defender, no good. First off, we've got some takes that actually Rutledge and I made correctly, which I'm really excited about, really happy about. As I was planning and putting this show together, I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure how long this was going to take, and I think that, we are going to be able to really put a nice little list of things that we made right together. So the first take that we got right at the beginning of the season, both Rutledge and I did a pretty good job picking our NFC trust. If you remember, for NFC, at the beginning of the season, we picked, in essence, a team that we trust is going to do well, a team that is a must follow, and then a team that is going to be a bust. So for the teams in the NFC that Rutledge and I felt that, man, we gotta trust these guys. Rutledge picked the Saints, and I picked the Rams. Although the Rams not as good as the Saints here this year, but both Saints still definitely a probable playoff team, while the Saints are going to be marching into the playoffs. Although they're going to have to take care of business in Lambeau should they have the chance. They're not going to be the number 1 seed. Harry Kane about ready to put another one past Zach Steffen there. That's no good. 2-0 to the 3 Lions. The other thing that we got right in the NFL in terms of our preseason pick was our AFC must. The teams that are, that they are going to be there at the very end when it comes to the playoffs. Rutledge picked the Bills, which was a very surprising pick, and that pick is really, coming to a good fruition there. So Rutledge picked the Bills, and yours truly picked the Titans. And although they kind of got crushed by the Packers this past week, which was very surprising because the Packers have struggled against those physical run teams. I don't know if that says more about Green Bay or less about Tennessee, but the Titans are still looking like they're going to be strong shape for the playoffs and really going to be making some noise, kind of like last year. A little cross. Oh, another block. Dang. Had it very close. To those listening on our podcast, I am playing a quick home and away series of U.S. men's national team versus the England men's national team with a quick offside. The next thing that Rutledge and I got right all year is we picked Alabama pretty much all year long when it comes to college football. We tried to figure out reasons from time to time to pick some underdogs and keep things interesting. But Bama is the dominant force in college football for a reason. And Alabama, Nick Saban is kind of the whole thing of don't pick against Alabama until they give you a reason not to pick against them. So Rutledge and I did a good job this year, just like what a lot of people have done, and that is picking Alabama. As we head into halftime, the United States men's national team is down 2-0 to England. And we appreciate everyone who's listening. We do have one viewer on right now with us on Twitch. Very, very excited about that. Quick look at the stats. Pretty even as it comes to possession. Just the 2 shots on target are the main difference between that. But back to the game, because we're not going to do halftime hot takes because Rutledge isn't here. Which, although England, and this actually is a big piece when it comes to England in soccer, is that they've put together a team and they've put together some players that are going to be definite favorites when it comes to international play, World Cup here in a few years, Euros next year, that permitting. We appreciate Veneros being on our stream tonight. So with that, one of the things that, just to get back to the picks that Rutledge and I did right this year, was that just about midway through the college football season, Rutledge and I really started to pick who was going to be the top 4 teams. We kind of knew. We were always looking for reasons to maybe not pick Ohio State. But once Ohio State really started playing well and kind of crushing teams, it really became pretty evident and obvious that it was going to be not just Ohio State, not just Alabama, not just Clemson, but then when Notre Dame beat Clemson and Notre Dame continued to develop that identity of being a really physical team, it was pretty clear that it was going to take some pretty major upsets to get Notre Dame into, or to get any team outside of those 4 into the top 4. So kudos on Rutledge and I for, although trying desperately to figure out another team to put into the top 4, deep down we kind of knew that who the playoffs were going to be as it relates to the college football playoff. Which leads me to a quick hot take, I guess. And, everyone is talking about this year in particular being a great year for playoff expansion. But I think that, if anything, this year is going to prove that there's not even 4 teams. Like, you can make the case that there's 4 teams, like there's a 1, 2, 3, and 4, but the distance between Alabama and Clemson, the distance between Alabama to Notre Dame, I don't think Alabama is going to let Notre Dame score many points at all, and I think Alabama is going to score a lot of points. So, if anything, I think that this season is going to maybe say that there's less teams that are really deserving of even competing for a national championship when it comes to the postseason play. But nevertheless, here we are, here we go. So, we are playing here, United States versus England. I'm doing my best at directing, producing, and being the star of a sports show, as well as our just being able to make it all happen, be the do it all guy. So our dear friend Veneros thinks my Alabama take is hot garbage. I know he didn't write hot garbage, but disagrees with my very hot take of Alabama beating Notre Dame by a whole lot. But we will see what happens here in the college football playoff in the coming weeks. So next up, to continue all of the picks and all of the things that Rutledge and I got right, or at least the big things that Rutledge and I got right. Rutledge did a great job jumping on the Miami bandwagon this year. Came in during the NBA bubble. Rutledge was all about the Heat and was all about that Heat culture, was all about that Heat depth, although eventually falling short. You could definitely make the case that the Miami Heat did exceed expectations in getting to the finals. So kudos to Rutledge, not only for his Heat take, but also for his Dolphins takes. Rutledge was a pretty early adopter to the Miami Dolphins being a playoff team. So Rutledge, great job. Tip of the cap there to you. And number 5, finally, the last take that Rutledge and I got right was that I turned the corner on Green Bay. I was not big on Green Bay early this season, and we were able to make it to where I needed to turn on Green Bay and come around and acknowledge that Green Bay is definitely number one team. Definitely the number one team in the NFC record-wise, but especially, that's a hot goal there. 4-0 England. I might turn the difficulty down to at least have a chance here in this next match. But Green Bay has played a great season. I was not about Green Bay. I thought that, especially with that early season loss to Tampa Bay where they ran all over them, it was pretty devastating there for the Green Bay Packers. And you know what? I was wrong. Takes a big man to admit it. Definitely wrong on that Green Bay, but kudos to all of the things that we got right. Veneros correcting my apologies that I thought it was the Alabama versus Notre Dame take. Veneros is someone who thinks that this is a great reason to expand the playoffs, not take the playoffs down another notch and make it less teams, but expand the playoffs even more. Veneros also reminding us that his takes on the NFC East still being terrible. Lukewarm take there, but definitely, hey, I don't see any dark horses coming out into the playoffs and making some noise. But, that is NFC East definitely having some rough times. Our dear friend, and let us pour a little out for our dear friend, Dwayne Haskins, going from starter to not a part of the team anymore for the Washington football team. So NFC East definitely has some issues, definitely has some problems, and we are here to make sure that, there's folks that always remember how bad the NFC East is. If you think about it, the fact that the Cowboys, it's not even just that the team like the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Giants are bad. They're just not that interesting even. And I think that, the NFC East will be short-lived in the NFL playoffs, and there will not be a team representing the NFC East here in the finals or in the NFL title. So for all those listening to our podcast, I'm the do-it-all guy tonight. Shout out to Rutledge as he is helping make dreams come true there at the Walt Disney World. And game one comes to an end as United States men's national team can only muster one goal against England, while England scores 4. England takes a 4-1 lead into the second match where United States will play away. So we are here to play one more round, one more match this evening. And I hit the wrong button, so my apologies. We're just gonna do the old classic match here. We're gonna play one more match for all those in Stream World. A quick game tonight, as FIFA games usually don't take as long. And we're gonna see how match number 2 goes this evening. So 1 second here. We always appreciate our viewers. We always appreciate those who listen to our podcast and all sorts of channels. We always appreciate those who watch us on our YouTube channel. So we are excited to continue that action. So we're going to get this going. We're going to see what happens. And we're going to take a brief little score check here to see how the Miami versus Oklahoma State game is going this evening. Oklahoma State was winning earlier this evening as they were playing Miami. And at the end of the third, Oklahoma State is beating the Miami Hurricanes 24-19 at the Cheez-It Bowl here in Orlando. So there are still things going on, although there's not as many fans in the stands as you see on that beautiful little screen. We are still having some fans here in Orlando, still having some college football, and I appreciate everyone, yet again, who has stuck with us this long. So as we start this second match, we are going to review some things that, are definite things to not be so proud about. we did get a few things right, but boy, did we get some things wrong. It takes, yet again, a big man to understand that, some big people to admit that, and this show, we want to admit when we're wrong, we want to celebrate when we're right, as even next year with our picks, we are going to be doing a better job of keeping track of those picks, seeing those who picked, how they do. For sure, Rutledge and I will be picking weekly on some big games, and just, as I said, seeing how we do. So for those who watched the first game, it was, we ended, we might have a goal here. There we go. Delightful start, United States men's national team. All right. So as we ended the first game, I gave myself a little bit of credit for coming around on the Green Bay Packers. Definitely, eventually saying they are a team to be reckoned with. They are a team that is going to have some say here as this season progresses. But I had to get to a point where I thought that they weren't going to be good to even get there in the first place. So the first thing that I got horribly, horribly wrong was that the Green Bay Packers were my bust of the NFL or the NFC as this season started. I thought Aaron Rodgers was still going to be injury prone. I thought that they were, I was one of those folks questioning the Jordan Love pick, thinking, man, this is a great time to get Aaron Rodgers some receivers, as there's always a lot of great receivers in the draft, and this draft seemed to in particular have a lot of great receivers. Josie Altidore here showing some flashes of brilliance, playing like the ageless wonder. But in the end, I just said, Green Bay doesn't have the weapons. Minnesota is going to be good. The Bears are going to be pretty dang good. And Green Bay, no playoff team. Boy, was I wrong, as the Green Bay Packers not only are looking like they're going to be making the playoffs, but they will have the distinct pleasure of having a home field advantage even in a year of a great pandemic, and being the number 1 seed and having to play in Green Bay, Wisconsin in January is quite a home field advantage for the Packers. So that was point number 1 that I got wrong out of many points, but we're just taking some of the top. Point number 2 that both Rutledge and I did spend some time, definitely our hands in the cookie jar of wrongness, was our misplaced love for the Clippers. When it came bubble time, I kind of thought when Doc Rivers was sending guys home and almost rotating squads out to go out and into the bubble for various reasons, I thought, maybe Doc is kind of allowing guys to maybe see families, maybe get them energized, things like that. As more and more news has come out from that, it was just a Clipper team that was uninterested in being in the bubble. They didn't want to be there, and that showed on the court. Getting beat although they won the first 2 against the Denver Nuggets, losing those next 4, that was definitely some misplaced love for the Clippers there. I think that especially, and even as it comes to the NBA this season, I don't see the Clippers. I will hopefully learn from the error of my ways and not put misplaced love on the Clippers again. Sebastian Lletget here has a chance to go 2-0 over England for those maybe watching, but he did not. So that would be point number 2 here on how we got to, on some of the things that Rutledge and I got wrong this past year. Point number 3 on how Rutledge and I got, we're so wrong and so many times throughout the season, became a little bit of a segment because, quite honestly, we kept on getting this same piece wrong so many weeks, and that was who was going to be number 4. As I mentioned, we kind of settled in midway during the season about who should number 4 be. We did spend some time, although Ohio State could have, very well been the 4th best team, neither Rutledge nor I believe that they deserve it. We're more in the Dabo Swinney camp of, why would you want to put a team that played less than 9 games into the college football playoff? But especially at the beginning of the season. It took us a little while to hone in our number 4 pick. In fact, we ended up just calling it the kiss of death pick throughout the season. And we were proven quite wrong many times during the season. A few of our greatest hits of our kiss of death for who would be number 4 in the college football playoff landscape. There was a week where we picked North Carolina to be number 4, and that was not the case. North Carolina has lost a few games this year, most notably to the Florida State Seminoles, who, although I would consider myself a Florida State fan, this would be the doldrums for the Noles, that's for sure. There was not much good out of this season, minus an incredible win against the University of North Carolina. Veneros making it very clear also he does not think Ohio State deserves to be there. I think, as I mentioned earlier, and actually I'm going to get to why in particular, even though Ohio State went undefeated, I think my favorite reason why Ohio State does not deserve to be in the playoffs outside of they only played 6 games. And we do have another corner kick for England. The English team is really pouring it on here. Second up for our number 4 kiss of death was Florida Gators. Rutledge was hot on the Florida Gators before the Florida LSU game, and all craziness ensued. A shoe was thrown, and we are, and the Gators, they lost. They lost 2 games, and even though the Gators still gave Alabama everything they wanted to and more, losing those 2 games was enough for the playoff committee to keep the Florida Gators out of the playoff contention and keep them packing. So most notably for our number 4 kiss of death was North Carolina and the Florida Gators. So next up, one of our biggest hits of terribleness was thinking that, and this is an NFL take, was thinking that just a coaching change would change the Texans. If those of our viewers remember very early on, we were very down on Bill O'Brien. Probably a very nice guy, and I'm sure he can draw up some X's and O's and win the chalkboard battle, but seemed to be a guy with just too much power and really struggled, that was the thing, really struggled with in-game decision making, and he really struggled with the things that you need a head coach for. So we kind of thought, probably he is on the way, shouldn't be there, and that could really help the team. But Bill O'Brien's gone, and the Texans have a team full of NFL players, and for those who might have missed it, J.J. Watt, you can YouTube this, J.J. Watt spent some time ripping his team very recently for lack of effort, months after Bill O'Brien was fired. So to think that just one person would be the catalyst of, really, be able to help not just turn around the team in terms of winning and losing, right? The Texans probably didn't have the players to make the playoffs anyways, but you would have liked to see a little more spark from the Texans throughout the season, and that just was not the case. So a lot is going to need to change in Houston for Deshaun Watson to really be able to play to his potential. And that's kind of the worst part of it, is Deshaun Watson, seems like a guy you always want to do well, seems to be a really likable guy, and the fact that, you're kind of, his organizational dysfunctionalness is going to really hurt him, and some really potentially prime years for him is a real travesty. So that was the next thing that we got wrong, and, Bill O'Brien hate continues to come down with venom from Friendstream Sports. Next up, earlier this season, there was a halftime hot take staying in the NFL where it was asked about who would be the number 1 team, or who will be the number 1 pick. And this was early on in the season, but the idea wasn't to talk about how it was 6 weeks in the season, but the idea was that as this body of work finishes, who's going to end up having the number 1 pick. And I went with the New York Football Giants. And I thought, not only were they playing horribly, but they really were really deficient at the quarterback position. You heard some of those stories coming out of training camp with their coach doing some not just old school things, but unorthodoxly old school things and ways to really lose a locker room of professionals. And I just kind of figured, that might you might really lose a locker room, and that could really be a great way to get a number one pick. And although the Giants have struggled, are by no means a good team, but are nowhere near the number one pick as things have shaken out, the Jets, which were Rutledge's pick, have most certainly nearly lost the number one pick in the most Jets-style fashion to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the New York Giants currently have the 10th worst winning percentage, so they will be picking, kind of near that number 10 spot there as if things continue the way that they are going. So this goes to go back to a college football take and to share my favorite reason why Ohio State shouldn't make the playoffs, besides the fact that they only played 6 games, was, I was certain that the eye test was going to matter. I was certain that it was going to matter, and I was certain that the second that Ohio, especially for a Big Ten team that probably wasn't going to play its full slate of games anyways, and that full slate of games wasn't going to be as many games as Alabama or Clemson, the ACC or the SEC teams. But I said, you know what? If Ohio State just wins and covers and crushes everybody and makes games not even close all season long, right, that's a great reason for the committee to say, you know what, Ohio State, probably not. This probably isn't your year. You know what? Boy, was I wrong. Between only beating Indiana by 7, which Indiana's a solid team, right? Good team this year, but it was a 35-42 game, and as I said before in a previous podcast, Indiana is the best offense that Ohio State has seen, and Clemson's offense is much better than Indiana's offense. And I don't love to be that kind of quote sports transitive property guy, but the fact that Clemson can really get some chunk plays through the secondary and Indiana really hurt Ohio State through the air, I think is going to spell some trouble for Ohio State. Not just that, but you also have the Northwestern game. I thought that was for sure going to be the reason to keep Ohio State out of the playoffs, was that they really, really struggled against a well-coached, hard-playing team, but they've got guys who are going to be building rockets to the moon, and versus Ohio State, who has players who can jump to the moon. So Veneros with the agree there. So that is the next thing that we got very wrong. Next up, is just Amir Rutledge. I tried, although Rutledge isn't here, so I tried to keep Rutledge specifically out of a lot of bad picks. But, near at the beginning of November, as the season was really the NFL season was really starting to get into full swing, we had a little segment of who are teams on the outside of the playoffs who should be on the inside of the playoffs or will make the playoffs. Our boy Rutledge went with the Detroit Lions, and out of the last 8 games, the Lions have gone 2-6. Fired their coach, just definitely where Rutledge was wrong. I need that Fox Sports deep-voiced guy to say where Rutledge was wrong. So that was one thing to definitely be very, very wrong about. And as we close here, I want to give one final piece of where Connor and Rutledge were wrong. I want to close off with another NFL take that I was very wrong on. I was wrong on a lot of NFL this year, but I did put some picks and some heart as opposed to my head between a lot of my Minnesota Vikings takes. Definitely a Kirk Cousins fan. Even though he went to Michigan State, I played in Wheaton College with a few of his former teammates, and Kirk in college actually came to my house at Wheaton for one of our little get-togethers and got to know him a little bit. Really nice guy. Not only that, I generally like to see Michigan State do well. I think that they're a really fun team, and I think the Big Ten is usually better when Michigan State's doing well. So I put a lot of love in Kirk Cousins. I put a lot of love in Dalvin Cook. I still thought that they, I still think that, thought that the Vikings were going to do well this season, and they really struggled. Kirk Cousins really struggled. The Vikings struggled, and I was wrong on that one. I thought that the Vikings were probably going to win the NFC North, and boy was I wrong. So that is going to pull us to an end. Veneros wanted to give a quick shout out to Rutledge. Another thing, so number 9, we need to come up with one more thing that Rutledge did wrong for us to get to an even 10. But wanted to give a little shout out to Rutledge for giving grief about the Georgia State over Western Kentucky. Sunbelt over Conference USA. So there is a lot of Sunbelt love on this show. We're going to continue to give Sunbelt love on this show. We're going to give some CCIW love on this show. CCIW Division III Conference of Colleges of Illinois and Wisconsin. Home of the Wheaton College Thunder and current national champion North Central Cardinals. We're hoping to get some Wheaton College football guests on our show. We're hoping to get a lot more guests on our show this upcoming year. We're hoping to do just some fun things to continue to interact with folks, because really this is what it's all about. One of the things when Rutledge and I started Friends Stream Sports was to make this about just friends talking sports, right? As opposed to folks maybe sitting around some camping chairs, enjoying a beverage, be it adult or otherwise, getting to talk sports. We said, hey, let's take this concept and let's put it over the airwaves. So definitely want to continue, and we have come up with some more ways to continue to interact with folks, and we are very excited to continue to do that. I want to thank Veneros for being on our stream this evening, and want to just wish everybody a happy, healthy, and safe rest of 2020, and excited for next year. Have a good night, everybody.